Hello, hello. How is everyone doing? Sorry, I'm 30 minutes late here. Let me kind of just adjust everything, make sure that everything's going right. Oh, okay. I think we're going. Hello, hello. How's everyone doing? We are live over here in Irvine, California. Glad to be with you guys. Sorry I'm a little bit late, but I am excited to get this started and answer all of your questions. We got 15 of them, so we got a pretty robust live session that's going on today. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? All right, let's go. Let's see. The first question is from Roland. Roland asks, I'm at the point in my life where I'm putting in work, I'm seeing results, yet I'm constantly getting distracted with mostly social media, friends, people doing things and living their best life. I'm fighting the hustle mentality versus who you are in your 20s once. And I used to be very outgoing, center of attention, yet this previous half a year has been building and developing my family's business and myself. It feels good, yet I'm drained into some depression. And some days I'm thinking, is this really who I am? Is this a quarter life crisis? Does anyone experience these things? Sorry if it's not too business related. All right. You know what? Everybody goes through that. Especially, I think everybody goes through that. They go through like a mental or emotional fatigue, especially when they're under pressure, such as building, a business. And, sometimes that you look at, especially in social media, sometimes you look at their seemingly life and they're seemingly living their best life, but you got to kind of be aware that they might not be projecting exactly what's going on. So, I remember this. I remember this vividly because I think some of you guys know that I was when I started building the company. My wife was had terminal cancer, and I was raising an infant, and I was still trying to build a business, right? And then I looked on my social media, and I thought, man, I wish I could just kind of be like everyone else, like living a normal life, right? And that kind of like fatigue of mental and emotional fatigue, like, hey, what's maybe I'm not enough, this isn't for me, and things like that start to enter your mind. And there's two things that I actually did. Was one, you got to take a break, man. You got to take you got to figure out a way of maybe go on a weekend trip, just reset, decompress, don't think about, the business. We're all human and we go through these kinds of situations and we go through these kinds of cycles. And it really is really important to like reset and kind of just balance yourself back out. And the other thing that I used to do is there's two different things is that you got to kind of really understand why you're doing it in the first place, right? So reset, balance. It's okay to get fatigued and bummed out, looked at your friends and think that I'm not a part of this, and start to question yourself. But that's why it's really important to reflect on like, why am I even doing this in the first place? So take a break, take a weekend off, don't think about anything, reset, rebalance. And then, remember why you're doing this. Because when I remember why I'm doing this, I'm trying to get through all those like really rough times. I think about it now and I'm like, it really paid off at the end. It like absolutely paid off at the end. And nowadays I'm living my best life on social media and off social media. It's not just a social media thing. So, don't, take a break and just make sure that this is exactly what you want to do. Because if it's not what you want to do, that's a different story. But that's my advice for you on that one. The next question is from Yolini. I believe that's how you say it. So I have a side gig with a friend of 2 years to earn money. So I have a side gig with a friend for 2 years to earn money to help my business grow. This year has shown exceptional growth in my business to a point where my side gig is too much to handle along with my business. I feel like it's distracting and takes away valuable time that I could be spending on sales at businesses as well as personal growth. I run my friend's entire back end, all paperwork, tax prep, book balancing, etc., and I deal with very sensitive information. To have open access to all accounts and financials. So it isn't something that I can just hand over to someone else. I feel stuck. How could I exit without completely turning my friend's business upside down? Any perspectives would be immediately appreciated. Well, I think, first of all, you need to be honest with them. right? You need to be honest with the situation. You need to be honest with your friend and her business and their situation, right? And what you're going to have to learn to do is, if you're going to want to leave the situation, then you're going to either have to turn it over to somebody, right? If you want to work in your business full time, you're either going to have to turn it over to somebody to handle that, or you're going to have to turn it back over to your friend. What I would do is I would create a plan on like what that transition would look like, right? So you would want to create a transition plan on what that would look like. And then you want to talk to your friend about what your situation is, because it's important. When you talk to your friend about the situation, then you tell them, this is the plan that I have for the transition. And then you can change and you can flex, and you can make changes on how that plan is going to look. And then you can have one that it satisfies you both, right? But I think it's really, really important to be transparent to what your plans are and what you're planning to do on exiting this particular work that you're doing for your friend, and really come up with a plan that will be satisfactory for both of you guys to transition all that work that you're doing. Okay? All right. Next question is from Ben. I'm at the point in my business where I cannot scale, and it seems like I cannot go over either an amount of money per month or a number of projects per month. I had this when I had 5 employees, and I also when I had 1 employee. I find it difficult to delegate tasks, but not in the way I don't trust other people to do it, because I find it time consuming and I rather do it myself. Of course, this leads to frustration, and some work doesn't get done in time. A problem that I see is being unfocused on one project at a time. My focus now is on 3 projects, businesses, that might be the thing that keeps me at this level. One business is advertising agency, where I deal with 15 to 20 businesses per month. What is the best way to avoid to be a one-man show, even if you have a team behind you? Okay. You can do one or two things. You can either scale the business down to where you're handling all the work yourself, so you don't really have to tell anyone to do, or you quite simply need to find a way to be able to delegate and empower your team to do it, right? There's no other options, right? Like you can't be a one-man show with a team behind you if you can't scale if you're not going to be able to delegate that, right? So it's going to be on your onus to learn how to like empower your team to achieve their task and their duties in a satisfactory and a successful manner for you, right? If you want to scale. Now, if you don't want any of that, and if you want to do it yourself, again, the other option is just to scale it down, so you're just going to be a one-man show, like a true one-man show. And it really depends on what you want to do, right? Because the factor of the matter is this: I think sometimes when we get frustrated, it's like you're getting frustrated because it's not happening the way you want to, and that's exactly it. We get frustrated because we're not accomplishing and we're not seeing the results that we're looking for, right? In the time that we want it. That's why we get frustrated. So when you're training, or when you're delegating, or when you're empowering a team, you have to be able to like understand that frustration because you're not getting what you want, and rebalance it with something called patience, right? Because for anyone to transition a task, or for you to teach anybody, or for you to delegate, for you to grow, it's going to take patience to do that. What I have done in the past, and what I think that you could do, is you can maybe hire an executive coach to show you to help you through this particular scaling process, right? Because maybe they can give you tips, or maybe they can they can show you ways to get the results that you want quicker on scaling your company and how to handle these different employees, right? So, okay, so that's the 1 or 2 things that you can do there. Let's see. Let's go to the next question. I'm gonna fire these off as fast as I can because there's a lot of them here. Shelly asks, currently having trouble keeping up with all the tasks that need to get done. I would like to hear the various mentors give time and task management secret. Mine is simple. I just schedule everything on my planner, or I schedule everything on my Outlook calendar, right? And I don't deviate from that. So I use like simple automation tools to handle my scheduling, like Calendly, right? So like I don't have to like fumble and look at my calendar. So that saves me a little bit of time. What I've noticed is that when we're not having enough time to do things, it's primarily because we're having too much distractions, right? And for me, if I didn't schedule everything like strategically, hour by hour, 30 minutes by 30 minutes, then I start to get like behind. So it's really important that I schedule that out because I don't want any distractions, right? And the amount of distractions that you eliminate, you'll understand that there's a lot less. You'll start to have more time. So because it keeps you pretty focused. Okay. Let's see. Kristen has the next question. How many times is too many times to follow up? I have 2 conversations in the DM, and one girl booked a call with me and the other is still making decisions. I followed up 4 times with both and neither is answering the messages. And I'm adding urgency saying that I only have 2 spots available in July, but still nothing. I really want to work on these projects as they're my ideal clients and both want big projects done. The business description, I think I failed to read these in the other ones here. Is business description is selling on Facebook Messenger and getting them to show up to their calls. I think there is a maximum of time that you follow up with somebody, and I think there's a balance between like following up and just harassing somebody. But that's not. But the maximum point is not when you don't get a response. It seems like these people haven't responded to you. That's for me. I'm going to continuously follow up until I get some kind of response. Either it's a no follow up with me later or what have you. Because for me, I need an action item. I need to know what my course of action is after I get their response. If they're not responding to me, I just kindly keep on like following up in maybe like 1 week cadences. And then after they say, okay, not this time, later, no, what have you, I do still follow up depending on like if it's going to be 6 months to a year after that. But if they didn't answer you, that's not the maximum amount of time. I would follow up until I get some kind of answer. Okay, moving right along here. Has anyone used Nextdoor specifically for marketing, and is there any nuances or methods to use this particular social media site effectively? I guess I won't read the whole entire question just because I've never used Nextdoor. I looked it up before the live call here just to see what it was and if I've used something similar, and I haven't. So I'm probably not the best resource for this. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that question for maybe somebody else. Next question is from Law. Law Jackson asks, "Hi, it's me again. I have different questions from the usual. I have a different question from the usual business matter. I work from home like most people these days. I have 2 children to look after. One is 9 and the other is 7. Each stage of parenting is a little different. I wonder what some of your working parents do to occupy your little ones while you work. We've kind of blown through a lot of educational series out there. Wild Crafts, Magic School Bus, Sid the Science Kid, and we found some great science channels, but I'm not a big fan of non-screen time. I've been thinking about bringing in a tutor babysitter, but it's been hard to pull the trigger on that one. Any ideas for wholesome, enriching, possibly Christian-based, home-based activities for a 7 and 9-year-old that diverts them from endless screen time?" Okay, so I have a 10-year-old, right? I have a 10-year-old, and what I've been doing is I've been getting her to do book reports. Like I've been buying books on Amazon, and she would have to read the book, and she would have to do a book report and do a presentation on the book report. I bought her books like, and these are pretty enriching books because I want them to make sure that she gets like some kind of, she gets a value out of it. So some of the books that I had her read, do a book report and present on are 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. She's not a teen yet. She's only like 10, but I'm trying to get her to read at a higher reading level. Make Your Bed is another one. Keys of Success for Kids. and think positive for kids. And what she does is she does like a real like handwritten book report, and then she'll do like a PowerPoint presentation to kind of show me like, what she's learned and what are the key points. So that's what I did. And, it takes up a lot of time because they have to read the book. So, and then they have to think about like, how they're going to present it and how they're going to convey the information. So, next question is from Erica. What are your views on having a small business that is going to fund what you really want to do? Business description is, I own a cleaning company, but it's something but it's not something that I want to do forever. I want to get my real estate license and buy investment properties that my cleaning property management company manages. I want to open up real estate office in large areas like Las Vegas, Nashville, and Miami. I think it's a great idea. I think it's my business funds a lot of the projects that I'm doing. I have a lot of different interests, and I invest in a lot of things. And I think in the business is what fueled all those investments. I mean, I have a restaurant that's been open for a couple of years now. I've invested in. I have a hotel that's coming in 2021. Family fun centers. I just invested in a limo, transportation service, software companies, some commercial real estate properties. So like, yeah, I think I think it's a great way. I've utilized my business to fund a lot of the exterior projects that I want to do. So yeah, great idea. Okay, next question is by Abel. Which CRM platform would you recommend using? So I'm in the staffing industry. So I'm in the staffing recruiting industry. So we have two different systems that we use. I don't use a la carte or like specific systems. I use one that's combined. It's called Prelay. I don't think it's going to work for you. Let me read your business description. My business provides water filtration, air purification products. After our customers purchase our equipment, there's an annual maintenance recurring income. I'm looking for a CRM that can help me manage that process well without being too difficult. So like my system does do that. It's like it gives me follow-ups on, that's exactly what a CRM is supposed to do. It gives you like follow-up and tasks and action items to follow up on. But again, my system has two different systems in it. And if anybody is in like staffing or even, or I don't know if there's anybody in staffing here, but it has a CRM and then it has something called an ATS, which is an applicant tracking system. So it's combined in one. So it's just more fluid. That's why I use it. The only standalone system that I've used was Salesforce, which it's a great system. It's just fairly expensive. So, but I know there's a lot of CRM platforms out there that is just much more simpler, or it could be complex as Salesforce. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for. So again, I'm not the best person to answer this because I'm using one industry specific, Next question is from Alexander. Alexander asks, hi mentors. I had a Skype call with Sean Thomas about a month ago on what I thought would be how to approach my business as a personal trainer coming back after the coronavirus. He asked me an important question. Should you even be offering a product that's in a highly saturated field where anyone can basically get it for free online? And as he reminds me, there is no right or wrong answer to the question. So I've been thinking about this for over and over, and it came to the conclusion that being an entrepreneur doesn't mean doing something that involves your personal hobby or lifestyle. Now that I have to start all over and having such a hard time figuring out how to move on from here, as I look out for opportunities, keep up with AO content, read books, materials on business, is there anything more you would recommend me doing and getting back to starting my own business? Well, I mean, personally, I started a program that actually addresses that. It addresses people that want to start their own businesses that don't know exactly what they want to do. It's basically how to start your own recruiting firm. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't want to plug it here, but I think what's really important is that if you do start a business, you got to do a couple of things, right? And I think Sean had a good point. I think what you got to do is you got to look at the market and really research the market and just see if there's, you got to do market research, right? That's in anything. That's in any service or product or business or anything that you want to do, right? Because at the end of the day, I think a lot of us think that, if I'm great at baking cookies or if I have a hobby, it's going to make money, right? A hobby is a hobby. A business is something else, right? A business has to generate cash. And the only way a business is going to generate cash is if there's market demand, right? So what's really important if you are starting any kind of business is that you have to understand, is there viability in the market for the business that you want to start, right? And what I mean by viability is there an actual market, or do you have to create the market? In this particular scenario, is the market oversaturated? And if it's oversaturated, is there enough market share for you to make any money off of, right? So if they're giving away free content, then you're really competing against free at that particular point. So is it going to be viable to make any money? So again, when you're looking for a new opportunity to start, you have to make sure if there's market viability in it and if there's some kind of demand in it. Now, if you want to stay in personal training, I mean, like, you can like heavily niche it, right? You know, I think just because there's a whole bunch of different personal trainers offering free stuff, maybe if you have a certain skill set that you can really niche your product and go after one particular market segment, like, you know, women that are exercising during their pregnancy, correct? You know, because, you know, I was a personal trainer for 8 years, and I got my undergraduate degree in kinesiology, which is basically exercise physiology. And like, you know, we had to work with, you know, specific segments of people that are coming off of a stroke, or people that are coming off some you know, a disease or a pregnancy or what have you, or have like limited like mobility. If you're a personal trainer and you can really niche into that, then that's where you can take it. So one or two, you know, again, back to the drawing. If you decide, okay, I'm going to go back to the drawing board and I'm going to completely abandon this particular like field that I'm in, then you have to make sure that whatever you get into, again, you have to make sure that there's market viability in it, right? You got to make sure that there's actually a market for it. Second, also, which I failed to mention, was like, if you do go into a new field, you got to make sure that you have the skill set to actually deliver it, right? So like, you can't just say, okay, well, I want to start, you know, inventing rockets, and then you have no idea how to do it. Then, you know, that doesn't work either, right? So market viability and the skill set and the experience to be able to deliver those services or products. Or again, take the product that you already have and just be ultra niche and just make it as unique as possible. And if it is, then you're offering something that's very, even though it's a saturated market, you're offering something that's very, very different, you know, and that's very specific to like one particular group. So those are the two suggestions that I would have for you. I think I turned it. The next question is from Deanna. Deanna asks, what is the best way I can train an esthetician that is new to my company? Do I block my manager out so she can train her, or can she shadow my manager during her appointments? Right now, she has her schedule blocked off for 3 days, and I will be losing money. The new hire has experience already, so it's an experienced hire that she has. She's coming over from another spa. I have all the treatments and protocols typed up in a binder in every treatment room. Business description, I have a medical spa. We perform many different kinds of treatments. So I don't know exactly what's involved with your training. I don't know if there's systems and protocols that are uniquely your own for your business. So if that is the case, if you have systems and protocols that are uniquely your own to your business that she could not have learned or experienced in other spas, then you're going to need to take the time to actually train her on how to utilize those things and what you do in your business practices. If there's not too many of those things, then she can probably just shadow your manager, because all she's doing is kind of trying to figure out what equipment that she's supposed to be using and where and what it is, right? It's kind of like, you know, you can easily jump into somebody else's car and drive it, right? You just need to show them it, right? As far as losing money, you mentioned something about losing money. I think maybe you might want to think about, is it possible to do it not in 3 days? Is it possible to do it based on her experience and based on the level of actual like one-on-one like actual training, not shadowing? Do you need to have it at 3 days, or it could be half a day, or it could be 1 day? I don't know what it's involved. 3 days sounds a lot, but but I don't know. So could you get her on the floor and working, or could you have her generating money faster if you condense that training schedule, right? So again, just to kind of wrap it up, I mean, if you have systems and protocols that are uniquely your own, and she could not have received that training from anywhere else, then you're going to have to set up like a one-on-one training and go through that entire process. If there's really not, they can just probably shadow your manager for like half a day or a day. Maybe. I don't know. But that way it saves you a little bit of money. It seems like you're going to have her off the floor for 3 days. So like that might be a suggestion that might work for you. Okay. Next question is from James. James says, would a company, Bamboo HR specifically, had it in parentheses here, a human resource company based in Los Angeles, be good intermediary service to use for only a startup phase of my company until I can hire a full-time HR admin? Business description is my company, V-Rhythm, is a cardiac monitoring diagnostic testing company which serves veterinarian clinics and hospitals. Okay, yeah, I'm very, very familiar with HR Bamboo. It's a HR software platform that basically it handles the whole entire life cycle of employment from the actual application. They have modules that from the actual application of the candidate or the employee all the way to the termination of the employee. It's great, but the thing with Bamboo HR is that there's still administration that needs to be done, right? So like things needs to still be inputted. You would need to carry your own like workers' compensation and liability and all those kinds of insurance and pay your payroll taxes and all those different kinds of things that you would need to do. So it really depends on your startup. If you want to have a streamlined software product that handles everything, so there's not a lot of paperwork and benefits administration, taxation, and all that kind of stuff comes out of it. Also, like performance reviews and all that stuff come out of it. Then Bamboo HR is great, but you keep in mind you're still going to have to do administration. Now, there's another option that you can utilize. It's called a PEO service, which is a professional employer organization. I'll say that again because I know I said that a little fast. Professional employer organization, right? Basically, it's like employee leasing. It's your employees, but a company takes it over and they handle all of that administration. It's actually their employee under their EIN number, but they handle everything. Large companies like ADP and Paychex offer this PEO service. It's kind of cool because you don't have to worry about getting benefits. You don't have to worry about enrollment. If you're enrolling if you have employees and you're providing benefits, like they have to have 80%. I forgot what it is. I think it's 80% enrollment into your benefits. You got to handle workers' comp. If you're giving retirement, you got to deal with that. ADP and Paychex, and there's a whole bunch that have PEO service. They handle all of that for you. Basically, what it is they take all these employees from all these different companies and they kind of combine them together, and they use that leverage to offer them benefits, workers' comp, healthcare, retirement, or what have you, and they charge you a fee to do that. So those are some of the options that you can choose. It really just depends on how much administration that you want to do. Obviously, the PEO service is a little bit more costly, but it's something to look at if you really don't want to handle any of that stuff and take off that liability for you. Next question is by Steven. Steven asks, how can I teach myself to adjust from a freelance mindset to a more consistent business leader mindset? I have a media company and we offer a long list of services. Many are specific to high-end imagery for commercials or live events, and we are usually called in for jobs as they happen. Every day is different as each job is custom to the project at hand. Sometimes I plug into a position and other times I lead the entire 2-week project. Usually after the show or project is done, we are done and searching for the new one. I want to be more engaged with clients so we can help them realize their projects, not one at a time, but strategically over time. That is done by working together more often and becoming a trusted partner in success. If I can achieve that consistently, I should be able to chase I shouldn't have to chase the next opportunity so hard. Okay. So if we have the same definition of freelance and business leader, is that my definition is that freelancers often are hired to do a task, right? It's to do a task or duty, and that's what they do, right? There's You're given a task, you're given a duty, and that's what you do. My definition of leader is that, sometimes they handle tasks, but what they are is to set the course and set the direction for the business or the project, right? Business leaders are either set the course or set the direction of a project, or they overcome business challenges that the business is actually going through, right? And with that being said, these business leaders generally are much more strategic than they are tactical. So I think in that sense, if you want to move into that mindset, I think every project that you're doing really should try to evolve from just like a task-oriented one to really trying to create strategy and partnership with your client companies. Exactly what you're kind of talking about here, because again, I think the only way I can really answer this is because it's a mindset question. Is one, if you want to be a business leader, you have to be able to build strategy, right? And you have to be able to set direction. Business leaders aren't doing the task. I mean, they don't get hired to do the task work. They get hired to, I have a problem, or I need to grow, or I need to have a strategy for the next 6 months to 5 years, or what have you, and you develop an outline or a project plan or a strategy for that. So, and that, you probably know your work pretty well. So I think for me, I can look at a situation and I can say, well, that's not operating as efficiently as possible. And I think if you want to move into that and you're freelancing and you're doing like, duties and stuff like that, I think the transition to that, I think one of the things that you need to do is while you're doing that work, because that's what you were hired for initially, it would be important for you to like look at that work that you're doing, or look at the whole entire horizon of that project or that department or that company or whatever you're dealing with, and see where like at least your expertise or where your knowledge or where you see that there's like holes, or there's like inefficiencies. And then what I would do, and what I actually do, is I look at those things and I say, and I talk to my clients or the leaders of the business, and I say, this is an inefficiency that I'm seeing. This is what I would implement, and this is why it would cost you. This is why it would either make it more efficient to reduce cost, or it can increase output and you can make more money, right? So those things are important, because those two little items that I just said is pretty much kind of the objective with all businesses: reduce costs and increase efficiency, or increase output and bring in revenue. So whatever strategy that you do should be aligned to those two things. Okay, moving right along. How many we got left? How many we got left here? Get two. Not too bad. Not too bad. We're making pretty good time here. How do you recommend finding top sales talent? Would you use some freelance sites or post job locally? I'm building my software business as well as on the side. Let me just read that again. I'm building my software business on the side while working a full-time job. I have a SaaS company, software as a service, business geared towards aviation industry. The decision makers I need to connect with are available during business hours while I'm at work. I need to find reliable sales reps that can call during these business hours. Ideally, they would be able to build a pipeline and work through the entire sales cycle. However, if I can find someone that could just schedule demos for me, I can do the demos at night and on my days off. Okay. So based on what I'm reading here, you can probably do, yeah, I mean, I guess you can. You can post something locally, or you can post something on Indeed.com, or you can post something on ZipRecruiter, and you can try to find someone. But initially, what I kind of thought in my head is, you can also outsource that sales function to like a lead generation company, right? You can just type in lead generation company on Google, and it'll show you all these different kind of lead generation companies that have call centers that are actually calling on your behalf, right? So, and a lot of those, it's like you can turn them on and off. Some of those call center lead generation companies are either onshore or offshore, So, I mean, that's something that you might want to take a look at. But also, I think what you can do too is, just based on what I'm reading, is maybe you can automate the entire process. Like, you can build you can build automation and you can create sales funnels through like, you know, Facebook and LinkedIn and like, you know, Instagram and stuff like that. So you don't have to hire anyone at all, you know. So those are some of the things that you might want to look at. Again, you know, just the three things. Yeah, you can hire someone, you know, from a freelancer. I mean, you can you can hire, you can post a job on Indeed, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, you know, things like that, or you can even use Craigslist if you want, or you can hire that outsourcing company. It's at least something to take a look at, you know, take a look at it. If it fits within your model, then you can do that, or you can automate it, you know. So I would just check into all those things and see if those would be, would work for you, you know. Okay. This is the last question, guys. So here we go. This is by this is from Gabriel. Do you have any personal experience with VAs? He's talking about virtual assistants that you can share, and do you have any recommendation or tips for me? I'm interested in learning more. Business description. I'm interested in learning more and potentially getting a virtual assistant. I hear many of you are using them successfully. I know nothing about them. I own a young franchise company with less than 10 locations, but in the process of scaling the business. Business is a retail stores in the natural wellness sectors. I have never used a virtual assistant. I have a lot of colleagues and a lot of friends that have used virtual assistants. All of my assistants have all been in-house, but I heard when you get a really good one, then they're phenomenal. So that's my answer to that. Okay, that was fun. Thanks for all the questions. I really enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot of stuff out of it. It's Friday, so I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful over here in Southern California with all the COVID going around. So, but yeah, have a great weekend. It was great being with you guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.